The Starbucks logo, a mythological half-woman typically called a siren. The half-fish, half-woman variety is usually known as a mermaid. According to the ancient Greeks, sirens seduced mariners with songs and promises of sex and then killed them. The original cigar band Starbucks logo had a slightly altered version of the 15th century twin-tailed siren, Melusine. In the legend, Melusine agreed to marry a man on the condition that she be left alone one day a week to do as she pleased in private. After some years, the man became jealous and broke into her room. There he discovered that his wife assumed the form of a mermaid. Angry that he broke his promise, Melusine transformed herself into a dragon and departed in a shrieking fury. He never saw her again. Heckler Associates, the design firm behind the Starbucks logo, modified the logo at a few points in the company's history. The first time was when they were designing the first Starbucks delivery trucks. The logo was huge, and so the attention went to certain areas on the mermaid. Heckler said he was getting some flack about the mermaid looking pregnant, so he redrew her belly button to appear as a question mark. It remained that way for a year or two. Heckler also redrew her hairstyle to cover up her breasts. As Starbucks expanded across the country, the number of letters from women complaining about the siren's risque pose grew, and so he made further changes. Then came the more familiar green version of the logo. The chest was hidden, but the belly button and only a hint of the tails remained. Stars were also added. In Portland, Oregon, we saw a new type of siren on the Starbucks sign. She only had one tail. Perhaps the image of a fish woman spreading her tails that's on its way out. What is this powerful attraction to the mermaid that is so compelling? The mermaid claims a long and rich ancestry that dates back to a multitude of fishtail gods and goddesses from some of man's earliest civilizations. The sea, as womb of creation and the source of wisdom, has always played an important role in world beliefs. The gods of the sea are among some of the most powerful in history. Their strength lives on in a host of entities, symbolic of the shifting, ever-changing, dual nature of the sea as both life-giver and destroyer. Ever since man first set to sea to deliver coffee and spices, sailors have tried to ensure safe passage by attempting to make peace with unpredictable water gods by mounting a mermaid on the ship's figurehead. Years later, the mermaid and siren images started appearing during World War II in the form of nose art on thousands of bombers and fighter escorts. Mermaids have beckoned the adventurous to the unknown and the promise of forbidden fruits. In numerous tales told of them, they would often foretell the future and give supernatural powers to human beings, or fall in love with human beings and entice their mortal lovers to follow them beneath the sea. Wells, springs, rivers, and lakes were sacred places in many cultures. Sacred waters are traditionally haunted by various female spirits, suggesting suppressed memories of a goddess. The water habitat symbolizes fertility, mystery, purification, reflection, motion, life, power, and the subconscious. In many of the mermaid and siren myths, the protagonist dissolves into the depths of the water. Behind the seductive image of the siren lurks the metaphor of death and metamorphosis. We were born of the water and have transmuted into the human form. Carl Jung suggests that supernatural forces spring from the fusion of two biologically different entities, opposites that embrace and explain practically everything. Jung believed symbols materialize on their own account in our dreams, the expression of which is beyond the dimensions of time and space, and in the sphere of unspecified and unlimited. These symbols possess a numinous character and impress themselves on the general consciousness, disturbing for those minds used to operation within the limits of logic and rationality. He says we can suppose that primordial images, sediments of accumulated memory, collective input have a life of their own, independent of single individuals. Jung also observed, a symbol always stands for something more than its obvious and immediate meaning. Post-Freudian thought had exposed the legendary fish-tailed seductress as a personification of the hidden desires of the sexual subconscious, symbolizing primitive castration anxieties and the urge to return to the amniotic waters of the womb. For the medieval church, the harlot mermaid personified the unnatural desires which stood between a man and his chance of salvation. Lilith, the one goddess with 1,000 names, is one of the most popular identities in human culture. She dates back as far as 2,000 years BC as depicted by the Sumerians. In other depictions, Lilith is represented as a beautiful woman from the waist up and as a snake from the waist down. Lilith typically symbolizes rebellion, rage, and an untamed sexual nature. She is also known as a Sumerian demon, the seductive succubus, the bride of Satan, and Adam's first wife. Barbie was copied from a German adult doll by the name of Lily. Now young girls today can buy Mermaid Barbie or go see The Little Mermaid. The powerful role that mermaids, goddesses, and sirens continue to play in our culture confirms the depth of their identity in the human experience and our collective unconscious. They embody themes that are always with us, but not often on the surface of our daily experience and perception. There is a Kurdish proverb that says, "He who wants pearls has to dive into the sea," and a Russian proverb that says, "Not everything is a mermaid that dives into the water." The song of the siren calls us to hurl into the deep, to transform, to die to self and emerge into a new form with new knowledge and understanding. All of this when you drink a Starbucks coffee.